Hey, how's it going guys? It's Nate here, and we are now rapidly approaching the conclusion of 2017. With only a few days left, this year has been quite a big one for the modding scene. So what better way to celebrate that than with some of the best mods we've seen in the past 12 months. I'm assembling this list based on two big considerations. One, Nexus performance, endorsement, and view-wise, and then a bit of my own personal preference. Things I myself have actually used and enjoyed and can attest to. Furthermore, we're aiming for mods that affect gameplay itself, so ENBs and graphical enhancements will be excluded from the list. But with all of that out of the way, without further ado, here are my top 5 picks for the best mods of 2017. Starting off, we have perhaps the biggest mod of the entire year, Beyond Skyrim Bruma. Released back in July, Bruma was a massive undertaking, a DLC-sized expansion that began development all the way back in 2013. Beyond Skyrim Bruma takes you to the region of Bruma, an area in northern Cyrodiil that was already explorable in the Elder Scrolls 4. Well, the Beyond Skyrim team built it from the ground up in the Elder Scrolls 5, and the mod is set at the same time as Skyrim, meaning players were given the chance to see how the region of Bruma has developed since the events of Oblivion. With the Great War recently concluded, there's a particular feeling of occupation in the region. Thalmor Patrol the province's roads, great cathedrals have been rebranded to fit Elven standards, and Skyhaven Temple, one of the previous game's great icons, has been reduced to little more than an abandoned building. Bruma feels like a much gloomier place than we remember it to be. The mod comes loaded with a plethora of side quests and very colorful, well voice-acted characters, though it offers no main quest line. That won't be a thing until the Beyond Skyrim team finishes doing the rest of Cyrodiil, which they do intend to do. Bruma's map size is just slightly larger than that of what was added in by the Dragonborn DLC, so you certainly won't run out of places to visit anytime early in your playthrough. Whether you're just somebody nostalgic about the Elder Scrolls 4, or Skyrim was your first game in the franchise, Beyond Skyrim Bruma offers a fresh experience, and is certainly a mod worth installing if you haven't already. It is available on Skyrim Special Edition for both PC and Xbox One, as well as Skyrim Legendary Edition. Next on our list is Diverse Skyrim. Diverse Skyrim dropped on the Nexus back in May, and it's an immersion mod with a simple goal: to accurately enhance racial diversity in and across Skyrim's various factions. You may have wondered what happened to that Dark Elf who was off to join the Imperial Legion in that random encounter, or how come there never seemed to be any Khajiits or Argonians as vampires. Well, Diverse Skyrim seeks to once and for all make Skyrim the diverse place it should be, according to the game's lore. For instance, female legionnaires, orcs, and dark elves. They're all mentioned as serving the Empire in various books and quests throughout Skyrim and previous Elder Scrolls games. But you never see any of these groups or races represented when you're actually in-game. Now, you finally will. Additionally, guards have been diversified to include Bretons within their ranks, and vampires and necromancers can now be of any race at all. Altogether, the mod overhauls the spawn pools of 8 total factions, but is still very careful to not break from the game's lore to create any scenarios that wouldn't make sense in-game. Stormcloaks will remain an entirely Nordic faction, and the Imperial Legion will still predominantly be made up of male Nords and Imperials, as it would be in a place like Skyrim, with soldiers of different races and female legionnaires only making up about 20% of their forces. Furthermore, with races like Argonians and Khajiits already being a pretty slim minority in Skyrim as is, while they now may finally spawn as vampires and warlocks, seeing something like a vampiric cat will be very rare. The mod is able to stay true to what you would imagine Skyrim's population ratio being. As a whole, Diverse Skyrim succeeds in being a lore-friendly and immersive addition to just about any playthrough. It is available for Skyrim Special Edition as well as Skyrim Original on the PC. Our third spot goes to Ravengate, Riften Underground. Ravengate introduces a massive underground gladiatorial arena, hidden amidst Riften's ratways. The mod allows the player to participate in, or simply spectate and bet upon, various battles to the death between NPCs, all from the comfort of Riften's remarkably ineffective sewage system. Ravengate comes staffed with its own cast of fully voiced NPCs, and unique characters that add life to an otherwise fairly bleak location. When competing in the arena, you have the potential to earn unique items and gold. However, your real objective will be to work your way up the Blacklist, a list of the 10 most dangerous fighters who have ever set foot in the pit, all of whom you'll have to defeat to make your way to the top of the Blacklist. These particular fighters are especially challenging, and boast their own individual styles and stats that you'll have to prepare for. Some fighters operate like tanks with a lot of health and dealing out heavy damage. Others prefer a more magicka-based approach. Of course, before you can find yourself on this elite list, you'll have to prove yourself by defeating more generic, lesser opponents, because evidently being the Dragonborn and saving the world doesn't count for much in the ungrateful society that is Riften. Fights are scheduled every night between 8 and 11 PM, and a small band of local spectators will arrive to watch the show. You can either join in, or sit back and spectate for yourself. Ravengate is still in its early stages, having released in October, and certainly has a little ways to go before truly being something perfect. But the mod author is updating the project regularly, and it certainly seems to be one of my favorites throughout the year. Additionally, it's available on both PC and Xbox One for Skyrim Special Edition and Oldrim. And number 4, we have Royal Armory, New Artifacts. In fantasies like Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings, it feels like literally every character with a name has some legendary family sword or axe with some special history and backstory. Well, Private Eye, the creator of this mod, decided the same should be true for Skyrim as well. Royal Armory gives each of 24 of Skyrim's most prominent characters their own unique weapons. Each weapon has its own texture/model, backstory, and special abilities that reflect its owner. For instance, Galmar Stonefist's unique weapon is called Foebreaker. It's a warhammer that he allegedly used to slay a frost troll that had just killed his mother. As a trophy, Galmar mounted the troll's head to his weapon, and now it does an additional 10 points of frost damage to all enemies. Cicero has a personal dagger named Smile. He obtained it during his final assassination before he became Keeper. It'll deal a random effect upon enemies it's used against. Smile's special effect mirrors Cicero's own insanity and lack of firm predictability. Each of the 24 new weapons feels lore-friendly and fun to use. The new models are especially pleasing to look at, and serve as a great relief to all the generic steel swords that we're so accustomed to viewing. The mod author intends for Royal Armory to be an immersion mod more than anything. It's supposed to add depth to these characters and give them weapons to wield that match their own status. You'll be able to obtain these weapons naturally through playing, as you kill certain NPCs. But depending on the choices you make, you may never get your hands on some of these. If you choose to side with the Empire and don't kill General Tullius, you'll never be able to get your hands on his special sword, Rally. But you will be able to get Ulfric and Galmar's weapons when you kill them. But of course, if tough decisions aren't really your thing, the mod author has also generously created a cheat room for players to access, complete with all of the new weapons for you to equip without harming anybody. Royal Armory is another one of those mods that there's no real reason not to download, and easily makes this list. Though technically it released on New Year's Eve of 2016, but screw it, that's close enough to 2017 for me. Royal Armory is available for both PC and Xbox One, across both Skyrim versions. And finally, last on our list, is a mod that released back in February and has made considerable progress. Open Civil War by Simtam. This mod aims to remake Skyrim's boring, rather linear and predictable Civil War, into something that resembles more of a grand strategy game. This mod gives the player the ability to lead their own faction's armies following the Battle of Whiterun, and have the option to choose which enemy holds to attack when and at your own discretion, with the exception of the enemy's capital. City sieges have also been restored as a major element of gameplay, as in order to fully conquer an opposing hold, you'll need to conquer that hold's specific capital. Thanks to a new strategic campaign map and new recruitment and manpower mechanics, you'll need to play your cards at least somewhat carefully if you hope to achieve victory, as a foolish decision could lead to your forces being defeated and routed from battle, whereas in vanilla, defeat wasn't even an option. Literally, it's impossible to lose a Civil War battle in vanilla Skyrim. Furthermore, the AI on the opposing faction side won't just sit by and watch all of this happen, as now the computer will launch attacks of its own on your own territories, which could see you forced into hopeless defensive battles. In fairness, the enemy AI is no Alexander the Great, and often makes some very questionable decisions, but it's capable enough to briefly catch you off guard, especially if you choose to approach the Civil War from a higher difficulty, which will award the AI with various buffs. The mod depends heavily on restored content, which really adds to the experience and makes Open Civil War feel more integrated with the game. Before storming the gates of a city, you'll listen to the cut dialogue of a valiant pre-battle speech delivered from one of your generals.
This is it, men. It's time to make this city ours. This is an important day for the Empire and for the Legion, and for all of Skyrim. This is the day we send a message to Ulfric Stormcloak and the rebel Jarls who support him. That message is this: any king who denies the Emperor will wake one morning to face the Legion staring down his gates.
After you've overran a hold's capital, you can watch as its old Jarl sadly abdicates in a scripted event that never made it into vanilla. Apollo Down's Civil War Overhaul did something very similar to Open Civil War. It also brought back city sieges and opened up the possibility of being defeated in battle. But that mod didn't offer nearly the same level of strategic control over the war effort, as you lacked the ability to direct attacks and followed a much more linear pattern. Additionally, Open Civil War succeeds in being fairly stable, at least from my own experience, and that of people on the forums, which often is not the case for mods of this scope. So, if you are interested in a new take on Skyrim Civil War that restores it to what Bethesda originally intended, and then some, Simtam's Open Civil War is definitely the mod for you. But with that last one, we're going to wrap up. Thanks for stopping by, everyone. What are your favorite mods of 2017 that weren't featured on this list, but you think deserve a spot here? And which ones on this list were your favorite? Leave a comment down below. After over 6 years, Skyrim's modding scene does not seem to be intent on slowing down. And with projects like Apotheosis and Endriel DLC, more Beyond Skyrim mods, Skyblivion, and so many other great projects on the horizon, it looks like it's only getting better. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope to catch you all in my next video. Peace out, everybody.